Economy is facing a make-or-break moment.
Our country's becoming very rich.
Key economic data is painting a murky picture. Inflation has so far defied the worst of economists' expectations, and the U.S. consumer remains strong. But pockets of weakness in the labor market and slower growth are raising red flags.
I think most economists expected this summer to really be that period where, you begin to see the effects. And I think we're right at that doorstep.
So why has the U.S. economy remained so resilient despite Trump's steep tariffs? And are the cracks beginning to show? Let's first take a look at where President Trump's tariffs stand. The administration significantly hiked tariffs on virtually all U.S. trading partners on August 7th. Some major economies, like the European Union, Japan, and South Korea, face a 15% tariff, while others like Canada, Switzerland, Brazil, and India face much higher rates, upwards of 35 to 50%. China is on a different track than most other nations. Its tariff rate is set to soar unless a deal is reached.
For the world.
The deal was reached. They keep, this is like what, the third or fourth time they've pushed back the tariffs with China?
What percent will that tariff be?
I would say it'll be somewhere in the 15 to 20% range.
We started the beginning of the year at a 3% average effective tariff rate. If you were taking the initial Liberation Day tariffs and you calculated out what that would mean, it could have been as high as 15%, which is a 5x higher than where we were before. Right now, we have to see where we're going to land. We do expect above 10, right, above that 10% average. And so what this essentially means for us is that it could be inflationary.
Trump's tariffs haven't fueled a massive spike in prices yet, although there's evidence they're starting to leave a mark. The Consumer Price Index rose 2.7% in June when compared with the year earlier.
The CPI does not include the cost of imports, right? We're exclusively looking at the cost of stuff produced in America, even though a significant portion of what we buy is produced out of the country, right? When you go to the grocery store and you buy your yogurt and your pasta and stuff, like a ton of the stuff that you buy, it's made outside the... Oh, am I thinking of the PPI? Okay, I'm thinking of the PPI. Gotcha, never mind.
Core measure, which excludes volatile prices like food and energy, rose 2.9%. That's a modest uptick compared to previous months, although still above the Federal Reserve's 2% target.
This will not turn out to be inflation because we'll make sure that it's not. We will, through our tools, make sure that this does not move from being a one-time price increase to serious inflation.
We have started to see the effects of inflation in the most likely of areas, the big ticket items, appliances, furniture, tools, children's items, all of those things have picked up in price.
We saw a pretty rapid pickup in June relative to what we had been sort of seeing so far this year.
One of the big, I guess, counter pushes, or one of the big things that people don't talk about that I think people should talk about more, is that a counter to these inflationary prices is the fact that the companies most capable of absorbing the cost of these tariffs are ones that were able to buy up enough stock ahead of time before the tariffs actually rolled in, and are the ones that can most benefit from the economy of scale. So there might be a deflationary push because the costs of stuff goes down, not because you're actually paying less, but because you would have paid more at smaller businesses that are now closing. So like you see an increasing of the everything gets bought out by Target or by Walmart process, which is kind of grim, right? Corporations have been eating the cost, hoping that the tariffs will go away. Yeah, I just don't know how much longer they can keep doing that. Ford has operated at a loss last quarter despite record revenues because they took $800 million in tariff charges in quarter two. And Ford is just one company. That's crazy. Did it really operate at a loss? Second quarter revenue reached a record $50.2 billion. Adjusted EBIT was $2.1 billion, including $0.8 billion of adverse net tariff-related impacts. Operating cash flow $6.3 billion. Adjusted free cash flow $2.8 billion. Declares third quarter regular dividends. I don't think they were operating in the negative. I just think the $0.8 billion was cutting significantly into their pay. Are we into stagflation now, like for real? I've heard a few people saying it because of how jobs look in inflation. I do think I do think that we're in the stagnation period. I don't think the recession has really hit yet. Or no, sorry, I think the recessionary influences are present. I don't think the inflation has really kicked yet. I think that the inflation is being delayed in large part by the fact that, you know, so many people now rely on these big mega corpos to buy everything, and they were capable of buying up a bunch of, you know, back-end stock. We'll see. You probably saw this, but an American Trump-supporting knife company owners thought tariffs would be good for him and got bitten in the ass. On April 30th, Josh Smith of Montana Knife Company said you won't have to worry about tariffs if you buy American. Last week, he realized his costs are going up because he imports equipment and steel, and so do his suppliers.
All right, so I hear that Amazon is going to put a number next to the price of a product on their website to designate how much the tariff is of whatever you're buying on their website. At Montana Knife Company,
I so resent how much of my country is being dragged down by these absolute retards. I like genuinely the fact these people are like an anchor sinking the country. I hate them.
We're going to do the same thing. We're going to put a number next to the price as well. And that number is going to look a lot like the shape of this goose egg.
Like, do you have any idea how stupid you have to be to think this is a good bit? The level you're operating on cognitively, where you're like your way of saying, oh, buy American, we offer American, so if you buy from us, the number of extra money you'll end up spending because of the tariff is zero. Like, you have to be so empty.
Well, it's a chicken egg because I didn't have a goose. But anyway, this is the shape of the number that's going to be on our website next to our knives of how much tariff affects.
All right, skip
the
ahead.
prices.
All right, for those of you that say buy American-made equipment, the tariffs won't affect you. This is American-made heat treating furnaces. July 17th, 2024, base price $519. July 23rd, 2025, base price $612. The thermocouple interface upgrade, $14,900, $16,700. The loader, $10,200.
Also, I'm not exactly up on the logistics and the logistical process of owning a knife company. The fact that he apparently waited until after the tariffs came through to buy a vacuum furnace, a like massive high-tech piece of equipment that presumably you would own for years and years afterwards. He's like, no, don't worry, it's fine. Stupidest motherfucker in the world.
The loader, $11,400. Two 1,000-gallon tanks, gas backup reservoirs, $39,400, $44,300. Spare parts kit, same stuff, $18,100, $20,400. So this is my point, and this is what I'm getting at. We're trying to build American manufacturing. This is American-made equipment, 100%. Made in America. This stuff has an effect. Again, I'm questioning why is the cost of equipment to manufacture in America going up that drastically in 1 year? I'm not hating on the Trump administration, again.
Of course not. And of course, you could go up to this guy and explain this to him and say, everyone has been saying this is how it would work the entire time. They've been saying this the whole time, very loudly. Why did you not ever look into it? But he would still end up being pro-Trump. He would just say everything else is lies. He probably thinks this is like a mistake somehow. Or these companies are fleecing him.
And I'm trying to point out that their policies need some adjustments. We should be focused.
Adjustment. Excuse me, sir. Mr. Trump administration, sir. I just realized that contrary to what you've said, tariffs actually affect the cost of goods that are made with imported products, and that as a consequence, American-made goods are also made more expensive. Could you like refine your tariffs, sir? It's not working right.
Focusing on finished goods coming in from overseas. We shouldn't be making the cost to buy equipment made in America for American manufacturers go up by this amount of money. $100,000 on the base price in 1 year.
I hate them so goddamn much, man. Anyway, let's finish the video.
And really practically everything rose this month. Some components set really big records.
Gross domestic product, or GDP, grew at a robust annual rate of 3% in the second quarter of 2025. That was up from...
The de minimis exception is officially gone. Billions of treatlerites must pay $80 fee minimum. Control F80 to find out what I mean. You realize you're phrasing this like the internet meme, right? You know, like, did you know that 40% of cops attended a recent, like, a child wellness fundraiser? Google cop 40%. Like, you're phrasing this in a way that primes me to assume you're being disingenuous. But you know what? Sure, I'll control F80. Honestly, the de minimis exception was always bullshit anyway. It was meant to be a way you could bring stuff back from a holiday in Shanghai or whatever without having to pay duties on it. And it's turned into the way that Temu gets around, you know, shipping stuff overseas with no tariffs. $80 per item. I'm never getting any shit from the anthology ever again. God damn it.
From a 0.5% contraction in the first quarter and driven by strong consumer spending.
Our economics team, they have modeled out an expectation for 0.8% GDP growth for 2025 in the fourth quarter. So this is not a recession, but a slowdown.
Combined with the first quarter's GDP figure, however, the economy grew 1.2% in the first half of the year, down from the 2.5% average pace in 2024.
What you see is a rate of growth that is slower than what it was in 2024, but isn't disastrous. It doesn't suggest that a recession is happening or that...
Again, I have a really difficult time taking these numbers seriously because my understanding is that, like, GDP really is a worthless metric. It's good to understand, like, broad macroeconomic changes, but the problem is that our economy has been structured to make the line go up at the expense of basically everything else, and so much of line going up is modified by, like, the weird particular ways in which we've structured our economy that don't really reflect people's actual economic well-being. You know, I know that 60% of GDP growth or like 60% of GDP comes from, like, conventional expenses down here at the ground level of the economy. But a lot of that is still influenced by this big, like, high-end, top-level stuff that doesn't really affect our day-to-day lives. Capella, stop trying to eat the geckos. Ooh, she knows. She knows.
Is imminent.
The U.S. jobs market had been a source of strength until July. Job growth slowed to 73,000 that month.
And as a consequence, Trump went ahead and fired the person counting the jobs numbers.
Below expectations. The Labor Department also sharply revised May and June's figures by a combined...
Oh, yeah, you're right, dude. The AI bubble is also, like, a huge part of why the GDP is growing. Spending on AI data centers is so massive that it's taken a bigger chunk of GDP growth than shopping, and it could crash the American economy. Even ignoring the speculation in the second half of this sentence, like, AI data centers, their construction, their operation, their maintenance, and everything that they allow for, objectively, do not relate to, like, the day-to-day productivity and functionality of the country. It is a money sink that exists to be financially speculated on. You might as well talk about Bitcoin mining as part of the real economy. It has nothing to do with whether or not regular people can afford their rent, whether regular people can afford their car payments or whatever. Even if this doesn't turn out to be a bubble, like, even if this doesn't pop, even if this stays more or less stable, what does that mean in the long run? It means that a significant portion of our economic growth exists in this unpoppable bubble. Is that better? Would it have been better if the dot-com bubble had never happened, but a huge amount of speculative money was circulating in an environment that had no effect on the economy at all? So it looks like the line is going up, but then, like, it doesn't feel like it. Like, the economy is supposed to be getting larger, but everyone's just, like, struggling to survive off of less and less and less. No, I think it'll pop. I'm just saying I don't think the problem with this is that it's a bubble that's going to pop. I think that it's a black hole of economic productivity that contributes to the GDP but doesn't reflect on people's lives in any meaningful way. Does that make sense? It could be a bubble or it could be like a spherical lead container. It wouldn't matter to me. It's still containing a lot of economic activity that doesn't seem to do shit for the regular Americans.
258,000 jobs.
Well, it really was a stunning downward revision, and it really sort of confirms something we'd already been seeing in the soft data, and that is that the U.S. economy had been slowing and been slowing fairly dramatically.
This is a problem for the Fed because it has a dual mandate of price stability and maximum employment. Keeping its benchmark interest rate too high could keep inflation subdued, but could also cause unnecessary damage to the job market.
This is the special situation we're in, which is we have two-sided risk to both of our goals.
The labor market has been pretty clearly slowing over the course of this year. It hasn't been collapsing. I think the labor market generally for now looks like it is in balance. And so the question from a central bank perspective is, how proactive do you want to be?
The Trump administration has criticized the Fed for not lowering interest rates sooner while defending its trade policies.
We have a great thing going. I think we're going to have the richest economy you've ever seen.
But given the underlying weaknesses, the second half of 2025 could be even more unpredictable than the first.
Beginning of the fall, we're going to have significantly more clarity.
What the fuck is that? Is this a pantsuit jacket made out of a bath rug? What is that? Okay.
And understanding.
I bet it's comfy.
Not just how the market should respond to these tariff rates, but also what does it actually mean for the pass-through to the consumer? And it's likely to actually start showing up as business owners can start to make well-educated decisions about how much they actually have to increase prices.
We look for growth this year to be between 0.5% and 1%, which is below trend, slower than it has been for the past several years, but still consistent with a pretty soft landing in economic terms. If you can go through the sorts of events that we've gone through and the sorts of policy changes that we have and still have growth that stays meaningfully above zero, I think that's
My theory is the Trump admin is fully bought into the AI hype. I don't think they believe in AI like as tech bros do. I think they recognize it as a profitable speculative venture that also allows them to do like techno-dystopian shit like Palantir.
a pretty good outcome.
Our expectation right now is for no growth in the second half of the year, sort of moving sideways, not enough to necessarily declare a recession, but it is nonetheless not the best of economics.
So if the GDP doesn't grow for the rest of the year, but a huge amount of our GDP is caught up in AI and stuff like NVIDIA and tech companies, what does that say about our actual economy's growth? Like, okay, I'm going to make a bold claim here, okay? Money, GDP that is tied to its circulation in NVIDIA, in Microsoft. No, you know what? I'm just going to say NVIDIA. I'm just going to say NVIDIA. Microsoft, Amazon, and other tech companies do stuff that we relate to on like a direct engagement, you know, but let's anything AI related. You just take the AI bubble. What percentage is speculated here? Forecasting record 364 billion of capital investment in 2025. All this spending has to have an impact in the economy. Analyst estimates from Renaissance Macro Research indicate that so far in 2025, the dollar value contributed to GDP growth by AI data center expenditure surpassed the total impact from all U.S. consumer spending. So thereby, necessarily, if AI investment continues throughout the year, but the overall line stays stagnant up until the end of 2025, would that not necessarily mean U.S. consumer spending contribution to GDP has decreased? Like, would the recession in the real economy not then be guaranteed to be happening? They have created a metric where you can blur people's actual economic well-being with how much money are we investing and speculating on AI data centers with? And don't worry, once we add those two numbers together, it's only stagnant. Holy shit. Okay. I don't know. That's really bad. When you say the bubble's gonna pop, do you mean like investing in it tanks? In my opinion, all stocks are meme coins. You buy into them to invest. It doesn't matter what you're investing into. You could be investing in a company that makes nothing but shit-stained rags. If everyone wants to invest into it, the share is valuable. That being said, for the most part, people do tie their product, their investments, their speculation into a belief that something is being produced, that there's a future for the company they're buying into. And if people realize all of a sudden, if all these speculators, who are, by the way, the average venture capitalist, the person whose job it is to spend money in this way, 65 IQ. They are dressed every day by a handler who has to follow them into the bathroom to wipe their asshole. They are worth $400 million. They are better than you. 65 is generous? It might well be. Eventually, people are going to wake up to the fact that these AI ventures are not returning anywhere near what they would need to be profitable. And people are going to start to divest big time. And a lot of money is going to leave the market. And the bubble is going to burst, and a lot of people are going to be left holding the bag, having bought those shares at a higher price than they can sell them for. It'll be difficult for people to sell them fast enough. The same thing happened with the dot-com bubble. Whatever. I didn't realize that the consumer spending dropped this much, man. God damn. Look at that.